Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And I've always kind of asked the question, what the fuck happened to the Friday the 13th franchise? Right? Like what happened to it? In 2009, I think it was February 2009, we had the reboot, which was, Jason was essentially kind of guarding a pot farm on the outskirts of Camp Crystal Lake. Made very little sense, but Will Ford's boobs. All I'm going to say about that. But anyway, Marcus Nispel directed that movie on a budget of 19 million, and it went on to gross 91, which is a profit, a very large profit. And the movie was okay, even if Marcus Nispel's biggest fault as a filmmaker is that he's all style and no substance. Go watch Pathfinder. Go watch Conan from 2011. You know what I'm talking about. But as a result of all of that, there is never a sequel. And then, of course, it was rumored back in 2013 that they were going to be rebooting it once again, this time around with director Breck Eisner, who did The Crazies, which is one of my favorite horror movies, as well as Sahara, a highly underrated action adventure film. And they brought in Prisoners writer to take on. And it looked good. It looked the good setup here. Good writer, good director, iconic horror franchise. I mean, this was looking pretty aces, right? Well, then, just weeks away from production, Paramount decided to pull the damn plug. And it made no sense. Everything's lined up. You got production ready to go. You're right ready to go and shoot. You're going to get this movie out there. People are going to be happy. Horror, man, people like that stuff. But the problem with it is it was a couple years too late. To be honest with you, that's what I'm thinking here. There was a horror resurgence in 2016, 2017, especially with it pulling in 300 million. It's just the wrong freaking time, and Paramount didn't want to do anything with it. But actually, in an interview with Rooster Teeth, the producers of the film kind of go a bit more into detail, and this is what they had to say. We never got a clear answer from Paramount as to why that movie got shut down. I think at the end of the day, that administration, which is no longer there, didn't see horror as a viable part of what they were doing. Also, we were coming off of Rings, so that didn't help. For the studio heads who are not fans of horror, there's not a tremendous amount of glory in it other than financial. A lot of these studios want to make big movies with big movie stars, and that administration could never get excited about it. I think the rights have now reverted back to New Line. And that kind of makes some sense. Paramount used to pull in bank, and then a string of very odd decisions has just really kind of plagued that entire studio for a while now. Star Trek movies failed to connect. 2013 had Star Trek Into Darkness, which failed to connect. There wasn't was there a Transformers that year? No, that was 2014 was Transformers 4. And it's just one of those things where you're like, you should have gone with horror, because if it's financial gain that you're after, it's cheap, and you can get it out there pretty quick, and it will find a specific audience. And if it's good, it can have legs. It, for example, right? Get Out was nominated for Best Picture. Got best original screenplay nomination. Win. Got a best original screenplay win for Jordan Peele. I'm just saying, horror, when done well, can have legs. And an iconic horror classic like Jason, with Breck Eisner directing, would, I think, have been wonderful. Go watch The Crazies. Holy shit. That movie is fan-fucking-tastic. So I just, that's insane to me. But now the question is, what's going to happen? If the rights went back to New Line, why doesn't New Line, who has put out a bunch of these horror movies in the past, and obviously Warner Brothers likes money and they kind of need it right now, considering that they might be sold off and split up and whatever if this new deal doesn't go through, why aren't they getting around to it? Well, actually, the producers talked about that too. Brad Feller and Andrew Form says, fans think it's so simple that if we want to make the movie, we can just go make it. And that's not the case. There are rights issues. Originally, Warner Bros. Owned the rights, then Paramount had them for a couple of years, and now I think the rights are reverting back to Warner Brothers. At the same time, there's this ongoing lawsuit with Victor Miller. If there's a lawsuit hanging over the rights, it's problematic. You can't really make the movie until that gets settled. And now the movie is at New Line, and we've made a lot of movies with those guys, but that's not our home studio anymore. So basically, there's a lawsuit over the rights. Victor Miller, who was the writer of the first movie, was a work for hire, thinks he has the rights to it. So that's a whole battle between Warner Brothers right now. But I think they're kind of in a place where they should just very much try to settle and get this movie to go through. And the reason why, quite frankly, is the video game. Yes, the Kickstarter was announced in 2015. The game came out at the end of last year, and it has sold quite well. A lot of people really like it. There's a renewed interest in Jason, and that's not going to go away provided the game continues to be fun and continues to be a success. And this is the right time for the studios to get their crap together in order to bring this new movie together. And so that's just kind of where we are right now. So the Friday the 13th franchise should have continued. It should have been rebooted. It should have gone forward. But unfortunately, the way that the studio system works in terms of who's running the show at the time, the Paramount execs, that administration felt very similar to the 20th century or Fox Television guys from the early 2000s. Who just don't quite understand what the hell they're doing and ultimately aren't there anymore. And I think we as film fans are the better for it. Paramount needs to get their crap in check. And now that Friday the 13th is no longer there, Warner's needs to settle this thing so then we can go back to Camp Crystal Lake and get a good Friday the 13th movie, because there's, like I said, there's that new renewed interest. And that new renewed interest is going to put butts in seats. And if that's where things are at right now, if that's what horror's riding high, right? Best Picture nomination, Best Original Screenplay win, horror, it doing 300 million in September, normally a dead month. Horror is in, baby. And this is the right time for them to get their crap together and sort this stuff out. But that's just what I think. Curious to know what you guys think. Be sure to let me know in the comments below. My name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. If you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to click that bell, because right now YouTube does not show you the videos that I post, not all of them. So if you want to get the info, you want to keep up to date, that's what you got to do. And if you just want to see more from me, you can do so right now.